Star Wars is one of the most important fictional worlds ever created. Not just because of its box office success, but because this galaxy feels mythic and, well, otherworldly. It has history, religion, politics, and consequence woven into it. And when it works, it feels timeless. But fans have lost hope after failed project, after unreleased project, after underwhelming project. But right now, Star Wars is standing at a rare inflection point. With Kathleen Kennedy stepping down and Dave Filoni and Lynwen Brennan stepping into new leadership roles at Lucasfilm, this is the first time in years where the franchise can genuinely be reset. Not rebooted, but realigned. So today, I want to talk about what Dave Filoni's Star Wars should be, structurally, creatively, and philosophically, to hopefully save it from the dark ages it's been in. So welcome to Big Flick Energy, and let's get right into it. And for starters, Star Wars hasn't lacked ideas, it's lacked focus. Under Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm developed a habit of announcing projects years before they were ready, often without locked scripts or creative alignment. 3 projects would be announced, 1 would limp forward, and 2 would quietly die. That cycle doesn't just frustrate fans, it trained them to not trust announcements at all. What's encouraging is that this has already begun to shift. Since Bob Chapek's exit from Disney and Bob Iger's return, the mandate for constant output on Disney Plus has eased. Fewer projects are being rushed into production, and quality has slowly started to stabilize. Fan excitement is still low, and very low, but historically, Star Wars excitement follows confidence, not volume. This leadership transition matters because it's a chance to finally choose intentional storytelling over relentless expansion. And one of the biggest mistakes modern franchises make is assuming everything needs to lead to a massive crossover event. Star Wars was never built that way, and I do not want Dave Filoni to become Kevin Feige. The original trilogy worked because each film felt complete. The prequels told a tragic arc, not a content funnel. Even Rogue One works precisely because it stands on its own. So instead of chasing interconnected hype cycle, Star Wars should simplify its release structure. In my opinion, they should do 1 live-action series per year, 1 theatrical film every other year, 1 animated project per year, which could be anthology or serialized. And this immediately addresses oversaturation, but more importantly, it gives creators time. Time to write, time to design, and time to polish. Star Wars doesn't disappear when it slows down, it regains weight. And where these movies and series will root from is one very important person in all of this, Dave Filoni. And in my opinion, Dave Filoni belongs in the Skywalker era, while other new creators should be given the shot at other eras in Star Wars to give them a fresh creative feel. Now, this doesn't mean Filoni can't explore other eras, but he evidently has a game plan for the New Republic era, and he deserves to explore it. He's George Lucas's creative apprentice. He understands the mythological backbone of Star Wars in a way few people alive do. His work on The Clone Wars, Rebels, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and other projects all demonstrate a deep respect for legacy and theme. Let him continue telling stories in this era, whether through Ahsoka, Mandalorian follow-ups, or even carefully considered post-Rise of Skywalker material. However, there's a recurrent issue that needs to be addressed heads-on. Filoni's live-action Star Wars often looks cheap. The stories respect the lore, but the visual execution frequently feels closer to Star Trek TV shows than cinematic myth like the prequels did. Even the Mandalorian and Grogu movie trailer looks like an extended Disney Plus episode rather than a theatrical event. And that's not a story problem, that's a craft problem. If Filoni is going to be the long-term steward of Star Wars storytelling, Lucasfilm needs to surround him with elite cinematic collaborators on the long term. A quarterback is only as good as his receivers and offensive line. Lock in a top-tier cinematographer on a 10-year deal for Filoni-led projects. Someone whose visual language emphasizes scale, texture, and timeless composition. Names like Hoyt van Hoytema from Tenet and Oppenheimer, Mauro Fiore from Avatar, Rob Hardy from Mission Impossible Fallout, or Wally Pfister from Inception. This isn't about flashy visuals, it's about restoring mythic weight to the image. And the same philosophy should apply to action. Star Wars fight choreography has been underwhelming for years. And regardless of how you feel about The Acolyte, and I'm right there with you all because it was a disappointing show, its combat was the most dynamic and physical Star Wars has felt in over a decade. So, lock in an elite stunt and fight coordinator on a long-term deal as well. Donnie Yen that did IP Man, who also starred in Rogue One, Jeff Imada from The Bourne Identity, Wesley Snipes from Blade, any name that has proven their work in the past, and this goes for both the cinematographer and the stunt choreographers. It doesn't have to be the ones that I named, but people that can really make Star Wars feel like an event again. And with that infrastructure in place, Filoni could realistically deliver 5 or more projects in that 10-year period that finally match the cinematic promise of Star Wars storytelling. And that covers Filoni's live-action work. As it pertains to his animated work, it remains his strongest output. Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Underground, The Bad Batch, and Clone Wars all demonstrate tight focus, strong visual identity, and confident storytelling. Maul Shadow Lord just released its first trailer, and wow, let me just say its animation style continues to evolve, becoming more expressive and cinematic with each iteration, and I cannot wait to watch the show. That trailer got me extremely excited. And rather than treating animation as supplemental, Lucasfilm should study it as a visual reference point for live action, especially in composition, lighting, and tone. Animation is not where Star Wars shrinks. It's honestly where it sharpens. Now, if there's one move that could have prevented the biggest narrative damage of the last decade for Star Wars, it's this. Star Wars needs a formal creative Bible. Now, hear me out. I know it sounds a little bit out there, but there's reason behind this. So, speaking about another franchise, Godzilla. Toho provides the perfect template. For decades, Toho has maintained a Godzilla room, a team responsible for enforcing a core set of rules about who Godzilla is, what he represents, and what can never change across interpretations. Directors are free to innovate, where many people even think the newest film, Godzilla -1, is actually the best one, but the character's identity, symbolism, and boundaries are non-negotiable. This creates a space where, like I mentioned, you can have the best Godzilla movie ever come out very recently, but it has its own storytelling methodology. It just keeps Godzilla as he's meant to be. Obviously, you have the Godzilla vs. Kong movies that kind of become more outlandish, but they still do follow that basic premise, and it's clear that it's different creators making these stories, but they're still giving these main characters of Godzilla the attention they deserve. And Star Wars needs the same system, not to limit creativity, but to preserve meaning. And let me make this clear, there's still a lot of creative freedom that will be within those bounds. A lot more than Kathleen Kennedy gave, but I'll get into that later. A Star Wars Bible would clearly define what the Force can and cannot do, the moral boundaries of the light and dark sides, character legacies and limitations, technological consistency across eras, and so much more. Force healing, Palpatine's resurrection, and the erosion of the Chosen One prophecy weren't just controversial events that happened through one movie. This all happened in Star Wars Episode 9 with The Rise of Skywalker. It wasn't just controversial, it rewrote the rules in the worst way possible. Filoni is uniquely qualified to build this Bible because he understands Lucas's philosophy at its core, and will make sure that the rules are never rewritten again. Under his leadership, a small council fluent in his framework would oversee projects and act as the final creative checkpoint before scripts move forward. And once those rules exist, creators gain more freedom, not less. Filmmakers can push tone, style, and voice without breaking the universe. If Quentin Tarantino made a Star Wars film that felt unmistakably like a Tarantino movie, that's a win, as long as it respects the framework. This clarity would also prevent public creative implosions. Projects wouldn't collapse mid-development, they'd either align early or never be announced, which leads to another essential fix: transparency. Lucasfilm needs to be honest about what's alive and what's dead. Constantly announcing projects that never materialize has destroyed credibility. Fans no longer know what to get excited about. Under the new leadership in Star Wars Bible, the slate should be clarified immediately. Based on the projects I've seen news about in the past, these are the ones I think should be kept and the ones I think should be killed. The two I am especially excited for from this list are James Mangold's first Jedi film and the speculated horror series, And I know many fans would be as grateful as I would to get confirmation on these projects being in active development or dead, instead of just keeping us guessing for years at a time. Clarity rebuilds trust faster than hype ever could. And if Lucasfilm is serious about elevating Star Wars creatively, then there's another name that needs to be taken just as seriously and deserves a spot on that list of projects to move forward: Bryce Dallas Howard. Quietly, she has directed some of the most beloved live-action Star Wars episodes under the Filoni era. Episodes that fans consistently point to as standouts, not because they're flashy, but because they understand character, pacing, and emotional payoff. Her work on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett episodes that she worked in proves she knows how to direct within the Star Wars sandbox. And this isn't speculative. Bryce Dallas Howard has openly expressed interest in wanting to develop her own Star Wars series. This is exactly the kind of opportunity Lucasfilm should be chasing. She already understands Filoni's storytelling philosophy, she's proven she can execute at a high level, and perhaps most importantly, fans already trust her. Give her a series. Let her build something from the ground up with the Star Wars Bible. Let her voice be distinct, but supported by the same long-term cinematography and action infrastructure that Filoni-led projects would use. This is how Star Wars grows creatively, not by endlessly searching for new names, but by empowering the ones who've already earned their place. Just like Tony Gilroy. Tony Gilroy has made the best live-action Star Wars content under Disney. Rogue One and Andor understand stakes, politics, and consequence. He puts the war in Star Wars like no other Star Wars creative has. Honestly, whatever he wants to do next, greenlight it and just let Tony Gilroy cook. Now, Star Wars also needs breathing room away from legacy gravity. Yes, the Skywalker saga should have Filoni's guidance, and you'll have other creatives building their own stories, but one era should be explored to give another clear prime era for fans to get excited about: the Old Republic. Growing up playing Knights of the Old Republic, this era has a special place in my heart where after finishing that game, I decided to randomly draft an entire video game storyline for a game in another generation of the Old Republic to not conflict with KOTOR 2, so I evidently love this era. And in my opinion, an Old Republic trilogy is the cleanest way to stray from legacy gravity. New characters, new conflicts, mythic stakes without narrative baggage, and yes, I also have my own vision for what that trilogy could be and would love to talk about it in a video, but today isn't that day. And I'd also love to talk about that video game idea, but once again, today is not that day. Hopefully, those two videos come out down the line. And I think all of that could save Star Wars. But we have to remember one clear thing. Lucasfilm is not only Star Wars. Indiana Jones deserves focused stewardship, and Filoni, understandably, will prioritize Star Wars. No offense to Filoni, but he was selected for being a Star Wars fanatic, and I fear Indiana Jones may not be touched now because of Filoni being in charge, even though he wears an Indy hat wherever he goes. So I would take the burden of Indiana Jones off his shoulders and sign a dedicated creative team to 3-film Indiana Jones plan. I think if you start treating Indiana Jones like Disney's version of James Bond, where different creatives can just continuously make different trilogies and it could be the same character over history, that would be a lot of fun to see be done. Because with this 3-film Indiana Jones plan, it needs minimal interference, clear direction, and in my opinion, directors like Cary Joji Fukunaga from No Time to Die or Ryan Coogler from Sinners and Creed could revitalize the franchise and protect Indy's legacy. And I'm sure there are other directors out there, but these are just 2 names that came to mind. And the same approach should apply to other Lucasfilm properties when strong ideas arise. And I actually think they should use other Lucasfilm projects as like a AAA baseball team for who they'll trust for Star Wars down the line. If an unknown creator comes in and for some reason has a great idea for a Willow TV series, you call him up to the majors and give him a Star Wars project. Or let him maybe direct 1 or 2 episodes the same way as Bryce Dallas Howard got involved. That way, when the Gilroys and Filonis are gone from the world, a new apprentice can rise up to carry the Star Wars mantle. But yeah, Dave Filoni shouldn't be asked to do everything. He should be asked to protect the soul of Star Wars, define its rules, and empower great creators to build within them. Less noise, more intention, clear boundaries, strong vision. That's how Star Wars finds its way back. So with that, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what do you want Dave Filoni's Star Wars to look like? Do you think this leadership shift is the reset Lucasfilm needs? Do you think Indiana Jones needs a different creator? Do you think Filoni can handle that himself? Thoughts on me making a video on my Old Republic trilogy idea and video game idea, and which era should Star Wars explore next? And if you're excited for the Maul Shadow Lord series. Thanks again, and see you all next time on Big Flick Energy.